Hello, Cancer, and welcome to your August 2024 tarot card reading. All right, I kind of feel like that one already wanted to come out. Let's go ahead and get started, Cancer. So we start with an astrology card. This is the Pisces card that says, I believe. Now, as you're progressing with your goals and you're living your life, chances are belief is going to play a really important role. I don't always necessarily think that we have to have all this belief in order to accomplish things. I think there's kind of an interesting relationship that goes on there between the actual doing of things and the belief. But right now, maybe you are needing a little bit more of that upfront belief in order to accomplish, okay? Because sometimes I think we can just go do the things and then we can believe once we see it, right? We can believe once it's already been done. But right now, I think you need the belief up front, and it's going to help you, get up, do the hard things, dive into the projects that you've been avoiding or procrastinating on, or that you've been feeling, a little bit like, oh, well, maybe I can't do it. Maybe there's a little bit of doubt or insecurity coming through. But this is a time for you to really not only believe in yourself and your own capabilities, but also to believe in the more miraculous, right? The more divine aspect of this, the aspect of life that's going to open the doors and bring you the right people and kind of show you the way a little bit. Because if you are feeling a little bit lost and you're feeling like you're waiting for all this clarity, I don't know that you're really going to get it. I think you have to really start taking those steps forward before the clarity is going to come. So I wouldn't put things on hold right now. Okay, guilt. Yeah, maybe that's part of what's holding you back. Maybe there is a feeling of guilt or, dare I say it, some self-punishment going on. I really hope that's not the case for you as an individual, but there does seem to be some kind of a gnawing, kind of like a gnawing at your stomach a little bit. And that might be one of the reasons why you've been holding off. One of the reasons why you've been kind of keeping yourself on the back burner or up on the shelf. You've been keeping things at bay a little bit. And you may not fully understand this or fully have identified exactly what's going on quite yet, but I think this is an excellent time for you to release this. And I think maybe you can, especially with the Mars-Jupiter conjunction in the 12th house in Gemini. There can be a lot of spiritual healing that happens during this time. And because Jupiter is such a, high level planet, there can be a lot of detachment that happens when Jupiter is in the 12th, and we can kind of detach from things like guilt and detach from, the narratives and the traumas that we've experienced that have hindered us in our life thus far. So, I do think Cancer right now, you're going through a pretty substantial transformation, a pretty substantial shift in your life, although it's probably pretty subtle. But the healing is taking place whether you realize it or not, and you are being set up here for success, okay? But the more and more you release the guilt, I think the more and more likely you are to believe. And the more and more you believe, the more and more likely you are to act. And the more likely you are to act, the more likely you are to succeed, okay? So what else does Cancer need to know for the month of August? We have the Knight of Swords, the Four of Swords. I'm kind of feeling Cancer coming into maybe a bit of a softer place right now. Because when I look at this Knight of Swords, it kind of tells me that it feels like anxiety, if I'm being honest with you. It feels like anxiety. It feels like stress. It feels like your foot has been on the gas pedal, pushing really hard, and you've been driving really fast. But immediately hitting up against that Four of Swords, it tells me that there's going to be some type of a slowdown that happens, a good one, not one that's going to prevent progress. And I think you'll still continue to kind of plow forward with your progress, but it's just the energy with which you're bringing into it. Because the Knight of Swords, there is just a lot of tension there. and there's a lot of insecurity regarding control, and there's a lot of like, well, I need it to succeed, I need it to work, I need the results. Sometimes there can be some desperation that comes through with that. But then we move into the Four of Swords, which is like, you know what, let's just, I don't want to say go with the flow because that sounds a little passive. I don't think we're crossing the line into like this super passive place, but the peace of mind is there. So it kind of comes with this sense of knowing that things are going to work out. And maybe that really coincides with the belief as well. Because when I look at the Knight of Swords, it almost kind of feels like there's an overcompensation going on. And maybe it's because of this guilt. Now, the guilt, it may not be something you personally are dealing with. We could also maybe use the words like shame, even though I know it's a different type of thing. Shame and fear and insecurity and even feelings of overwhelm. Those types of things could maybe be what's going on. And it can be a lot when you're trying to kind of overcome or overcompensate for those things. Whereas this feels more like a surrender. Now, with the Pisces energy, there can be an element of surrender that's happening where you're surrendering to the process a little bit. You're surrendering to the creative flow. You're surrendering to your own kind of state of mind to a degree where you're not trying to constantly outperform yourself. You're just really honoring where you're at. And I think by honoring where you're at, that comes with a lot of release as you release these types of, the guilts and the shames and all of that. Now, the Ten of Swords, it's kind of like, I'm kind of seeing it really connected with the Knight of Swords, if I'm being honest with you, where the Ten of Swords feels like a point of exhaustion, maybe. Like you've exhausted the Knight of Swords energy. You've exhausted that go, 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 go type of thing. And maybe some of you have reached a point of burnout. Maybe some of you have reached a point where you just really don't have a lot more to give in a specific area. Maybe there's even kind of like a numbness to it, like where you're kind of going numb and the excitement and the enthusiasm just isn't really there. This Four of Swords feels like a reset or a reboot. Okay, it kind of feels like you're out of fuel and you stop at the gas station to refuel. It's the refueling station. So if you need time to take a break, step out of your projects for a minute, go do something completely different, go connect with nature, write in your journal, do something a little bit more creative and artsy or whatever. If you need to pull out, I would highly recommend doing that because that can kind of reinstill a lot of the excitement that I think you want to have. But somewhere along the way, it feels like the excitement of everything kind of got overshadowed by, it's like the overwhelming number of tasks that it requires. And it's kind of canceling everything out. So take that time to pull back, take that time to retreat, take that time to give back to yourself and to do some of that self-care stuff. I think the self-care is going to be really important for you. And when I say self-care, I don't just mean like a bubble bath, okay? I mean, it could be a part of it, but I think there's more communion with spirit that goes on there, okay? So maybe some more meditation, going for walks in nature, being alone, getting off the phone, getting off of social media, getting off of, streaming services, and just really being with yourself. I'd also be very careful of any kind of substances like alcohol and even caffeine. I would highly recommend maybe not consuming those types of things as you're in this reset, reboot period. Maybe this is kind of a cleanse for Cancer, okay? Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to get back. I don't know that you're going to be rearranging everything, and I don't even know that you're necessarily going to be taking anything off the list. I think pretty much the list of stuff that needs to be done is pretty static. You know what needs to be done, but like I say, it's a different approach. Like when you're approaching this big to-do list, with this sense of like, oh, I have to, I need to, oh, we got to, that's one thing where like, okay, what do I need to do today? And then we just kind of do what we need to do today. It's a completely different energy in which you're giving to things. And when you approach things more relaxed and with a state of ease and a state of belief that like, yes, this can be done, you're more likely to enjoy it. You're more likely to actually finish it. Maybe there's higher degrees of productivity because this just feels too stressful and like too much tension. And the goal is to kind of get the spark back, if you will, as I see with the Ace of Wands, to kind of get that fire pumping, to get the excitement and the enthusiasm back up, to get the motivation going, and to maybe even cultivate new desires. It's like a renewal of what you've wanted. That reminder of like, this is why I'm doing it. I remember why it matters so much to me. I remember what all of this stuff means. It means freedom. It means financial freedom. It means comfort and security. It means my children are taken care of. It means my health can be prioritized. It means a lot of things that are important. So instead of stressing out and making issues worse by just going so hard, we just got to kind of to breathe through it. Now I look at the King of Coins. This is what I mean. It's like a completely different vibe from the Knight of Swords to the King of Coins. First of all, the King of Coins is immediately going to be more successful. Okay, immediately, because he has that more affluent quality, and affluence tends to attract a lot more. Right? There's a reason why he has a lot more wealth and abundance than this guy, right? Because this guy, here he is. Oh, we got a big bug in here. Sorry. But I don't know where they come from. It is Mississippi and the bugs are just everywhere. But this guy, it's clearly a difference, right? Where this one has, it's like, people want to be a part of what the King of Coins has. It's like you can even envision it, a wealthy person with really nice cars. They have a nice business. They have a nice family, a nice house. People are typically going to gravitate toward that person and be like, what is that person doing? What is that person creating? I want to be a part of what that person has. Whereas this one who's running around sweating and stressed all the time and who never has time for anything and can barely answer an email because they're so overwhelmed, people don't want to be a part of that because it's uncomfortable, right? King of Coins is very comfortable. It's very receptive. It brings stuff in. It has room for stuff. And this is all just an energy shift. That's it. That's all it is. I don't even know that the actual things that are the actual actions and the actual tasks, it's all the same. Everything is the same. It's just the attitude change. So you tap into the King of Coins, your belief is certainly going to skyrocket because you're going to realize that, first of all, self-worth to a degree is inherent, right? It's whether or not we actualize that or not, or live into that or feel confident with that or not. If we don't feel confident in our value, chances are we're not going to use it properly. If we don't feel a sense of self-respect, chances are we're not going to do things that show respect for ourselves. Right? And I don't know that the Knight of Swords right now is really the place of showing respect because you're not giving yourself time. You're not giving yourself breathing room. You're not giving yourself, time to sleep. You're maybe creating a little bit anxiety or whatever. This shows a lot of respect and it's a much more relaxed approach to life. Interesting how being very relaxed and still productive. I'm not saying you're not doing anything. You're definitely doing things. But you're showcasing a lot more self-respect. And that's also, a part of that Four of Swords. This is why you need to reboot and regroup a little bit because we want you to be showing as much self-respect as possible. And we want you to believe that you deserve that. And this may be a product of the guilt and the shame, where this is more a product of the detachment from those things. Because when you really detach from guilt, you're not holding yourself hostage. Because that's kind of what this Knight of Swords feels like. You're holding yourself hostage to things of the past. And the point of the astrological environment right now with the Pluto stuff, with the Mars-Jupiter stuff happening in Gemini, is to establish higher degrees of freedom. Okay, and that was also true with the stuff that happened with Uranus back in April. Okay, so I mean, it's just a year of finding freedom. And I think this is going to be kind of a pivot point for Cancer. Now, these swords, we'll see what comes out in the third row, but I'm kind of feeling like these swords are a little bit separate from the reading. Well, not separate from the reading, it's part of the reading, but it's kind of like its own separate mini reading, if you will. Like the Eight of Swords being the version of you that didn't really understand how to get to this King of Coins place. You thought you had to get to this King of Coins place through the Knight of Swords. That by doing all of this and being in this state, this kind of hustle place, that this was how you got here. When in reality, it's the Four of Swords. It's more the disconnection. It's the regrouping and kind of the attitude shift that gets you here. Because again, like I say, nothing, like on the surface level, nothing really changes. You still have to wake up and do all the same things. But it kind of feels like in Leo season, these things are going to start getting easier. They're going to feel more conquerable. Whereas before, maybe they felt inconquerable. Like you, for whatever reason, you just thought you couldn't do it or you weren't ready or whatever. And that whole narrative is completely going out the window and it's being replaced with, yeah, it's, you can and you will and you do. But in the past, it seems like you didn't really understand how to get to this King of Coins place. And it's like you really wanted to. And I think that was what your intention was the whole time, was to get yourself to this King of Coins place, this more affluent, relaxed place. But it's like everything you tried, you couldn't get there. And you didn't realize that this was just a beingness, that you thought you had to do something to get here, when in reality, it wasn't about doing anything. It was about being something. You just be the King of Coins. That's all. You just be that. And then the King of Coins will appear. Okay? And it feels really, really effortless, but it does kind of feel like something clicks for you. Now, this is a message that I've been getting for a lot of the Zodiac signs. You're the last one I'm reading for. So for a lot of the other signs, there was an energy of an epiphany. And I'm kind of getting a sense that Cancer, you too, are going to have some kind of an epiphany regarding how to be in this King of Coins place. And that at any moment, when you realize that you're actually in the Knight of Swords place, like you're here, you catch yourself here, you can consciously say, okay, I'm going to take myself out of the Knight of Swords. I'm going to do my Four of Swords thing. I'm going to detach. I'm going to disconnect. I'm going to unplug, whatever. And I'm going to consciously put myself into that King of Coins place. All right. And I'm going to give myself, the space to be a little bit more relaxed with things, to be a little less hard on myself, to be a little bit more flexible, but still accomplishing things. Like I say, we're not going into a passive mode. We're not completely disconnecting from everything and escaping and pulling away and hiding. There's no hiding going on. You're still showing up very present, invested, committed to things. But the minute you kind of learn and say, okay, this is something I can consciously do all the time. And whenever I find myself here, I can snap my fingers and boom, I can just go back to that King of Coins place. I think you're going to realize how that's done. You're going to figure that out. You're going to have some light bulb moments for sure. Some aha moments. And you're going to say, okay, I finally figured this out. I finally understand what it means when people say change your energy. Okay, hold on. I'm going to take the cards that I saw. So we got this one, we got this one, and we got this one. Okay. Now, let's move these back. What I like so much about the King of Coins is that he feels untouchable. He feels untouchable and unaffected. Because I think there are things going on around you that you could be highly affected by. Okay? There could be some money issues, money concerns, some health issues, some relationship issues. Because sometimes, that 5 of Coins it's a tough card. There's a lot, like you could be totally broke. You could have an unexpected expense. You could have, a very unhappy client. You could have a big fight with your spouse, or you could have some health news or whatever. Like there could be something that comes up that could potentially completely rock your world. But and again, if you were in the Knight of Swords place, this would be your inner fight. Like, I'm going to go fight this. Now, there's nothing wrong with the fighting spirit. It's just you want to make sure that you're fighting for the right things. If you tackle and try to go after the problem, you may just kind of emphasize the problem. You want to go after the solutions. And that's really what the King of Coins is about. He's more solution oriented. So no matter what problem arises, the immediate, very first response is, okay, well, what do we do about it? You receive some bad news, you have an expense, you have a client problem, you have this, you have this, you have this. Okay, snap your fingers. Well, how do we navigate through it? What can I do? What can we do? And again, the belief plays a really important role, because sometimes when we hit this five of coins, and even to have the 10 of swords and 8 of swords, it's like sometimes when we hit up against that stuff, we can so easily just say like, I don't know what I'm doing. I give up. Clearly clearly I'm not the type of person that can succeed. Clearly, there can be so much evidence that proves the opposite of what we're trying to do. So the belief is kind of the secret sauce, if you will, that instead of kind of succumbing to the issue, succumbing to the problem, you have that belief like, I can make my way through this. I can figure this out. I can lead myself and lead my family and lead my loved ones through this kind of stormy weather a little bit, and we will come out the other side better and stronger than ever before. It's that really pushes you through. And I think that's kind of part of the Ace of Wands too. It's the drive to actually want to do that. And that's why, because if you don't do the disconnect and you don't reconnect with the Ace of Wands, King of Coins thing, and you are approached with a problem here in that Knight of Swords place, it's just going to be like, in the movies or in the cartoons, where there's someone sitting at a desk and they have this big pile of papers, and then someone comes in and puts more papers on their desk, and they just kind of have that look of like, oh my gosh, I'm literally chained to my desk. That's probably how it's going to feel if you come at it with the Knight of Swords. You come at it with the Knight of Swords, and you're going to want to go into it like it's a war, but it's not a war. You shouldn't be treating it like a war, okay? You should be treating it as a path, as an opportunity to clear out. Because chances are, if there is some kind of an issue that occurs, it's highly probable that it's a product of something from the past. It's a product of this guilt and shame that had been building up over time, and now here's a manifestation of it. So this is an opportunity for you to really heal. So when you look at these problems that arise and the obstacles that come your way, thinking of it as an opportunity to heal and to become whole within yourself, it's a completely different outlook rather than, oh my gosh, here's a big stack of problems again. And I got to go and fight, and I got to go into survival mode, and I got to kick that in. And, because I'm looking at this 3 of coins, and it's just, you just build what you need to build. You, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of what's being thrown at you, you're building something incredible. And to me, this looks kind of always like a cathedral a little bit. And I always think of those European cathedrals, the big Gothic ones, that took like hundreds of years to build. They're beautiful, gorgeous, going to stand the test of time. Like, you're building something real. So these problems are very flimsy. They're coming in, they're Again, manifestations of things of the past, things that you've already probably moved away from. But the way you deal with these and the way you heal from them and the way you approach them, it's a part of these foundational building blocks. Because if you're trying to build this incredible life that is full of freedom and passion and travel and spirituality and healthy relationships and all these wonderful things, you're going to need to be able to deal with stuff like this, right? Because if this kind of stuff comes in and you crumble and you fall and you completely fall apart, it's going to be really hard to have the great stuff, because with the great stuff comes great responsibility. So for some of you, this might be you facing consequences of stuff from the past, consequences of past choices. If these are consequences of past choices, this is also you owning up and being like, yeah, all right, well, I messed up. Let me clean it up. I made the wrong choices. I invested in the wrong things. I decided to stay in an unhealthy relationship a little too long. I decided that, I'm not saying to blame yourself for everything, but, because we're all co-creating together. So again, please don't take responsibility for things that are not your fault. But at the same time, we all contribute to our circumstances in some way, shape, or form, especially as adults. Maybe not so much as children, but as adults, big time. So if there are consequences that we need to deal with, we kind of just put on our big girl pants or our big boy pants, we deal with it and we move on, And again, the more relaxed you can approach the problem, the better this is going to go. And I see you being very successful with this, with that King of Coins in the very center. I really do. I see you figuring something out. Like the reason maybe you're coming into this point of compression is very specifically because you're meant to succeed. You're meant to handle this well. You're meant to learn this about the King of Coins. You're meant to learn how to tap into that more relaxed, affluent mindset that makes life a lot more enjoyable. Because I don't know that the Knight of Swords has the most enjoyable life when he's anxious and stressing all the time, So it just feels like a completely different modus operandi kicking in at this point, okay? All right, so we're going to pull out a whole bunch of new cards. I have a feeling this comprehensive reading is going to get a little bit more detailed for sure. We're going to talk for another 25 to 30 minutes about all these cards. So if you want to join, the link for the comprehensive is in the description box and the pinned comment thread down below. So hopefully you do. So let's go ahead and take a look at this Knight of Swords. Let's see what comes through for Cancer. We have the Hanged Man, the Ten of Cups, and the Queen of Wands. The World, beautiful. Love to see that shift. The Moon. And the Six of Cups. For the Ten of Swords, King of Cups, Five of Cups, and the Three of Wands. Another Eight of Swords, Emperor, Justice. Beautiful. I was so happy. I'm so happy the Tower came out. I was hoping it would, because it does. If in Ten of Coins, yeah, exactly, in Page of Coins, because it does feel like a kind of a fast pivot, if you ask me. Two of Wands, Eight of Wands. It seems like you really overcome a barrier. Like really, truly. I'm not just saying that. Sometimes I think we tarot readers, we say these things over and over and over. Sometimes they kind of lose their meaning, but there are certain months where it's like, yeah, these messages are really hot and heavy. So you're absolutely going to overcome a barrier that has been problematic for quite some time. Okay. And last but not least, Three of Coins, the Magician, another Five of Coins, and an Eight of Coins. All right, Cancer. So this is where we're going to pick up in the comprehensive. So if you want to join, you're more than welcome. Thank you so much. Have an amazing August, and I'll talk to you soon.